Right folks, so the Enfield Bullet 350 Classic pre-unit is all back together, as you can see here, and today has been undergoing a little bit of fettling and fine-tuning to just help with the starting and smooth tick over. As you saw in the last video, it was all put back together and it was started for the first time after the rebuild, and while it ran okay and it revved quite cleanly and such, I couldn't really get it to idle very smoothly for any length of time, and I think this was partly due to the battery, which is most definitely past its best, hence the reason I'm hooked up to a starter charger pack there to provide the power, and it was partly possibly partly due to the fuel, which may well be a little stale, although it seems to be firing up quite easily, but the fuel has been sat in that tank for a good while, so that's always a possibility. And I think it was also in part to settings for the timing, which I think was previously too advanced, causing a bit of spitting back through the carb and kicking back on starting attempts. So what I've been doing today is a little bit of fettling and fine-tuning, and I've set the carb back to exactly stock. It's running the old style T-Caddy air filter as mentioned, which I will just pan around and show you there. Nice chrome T-Caddy filter, which is open at the bottom and has an air filter, draws the air up through here and along into the carburettor. The old system, or rather the newer system, has a T-Caddy airbox, but that's sealed and it's just an empty box inside, there's nothing in there. It then has a pipe coming from here into the back of this right hand toolbox. It then has a circular air filter inside the right hand toolbox, and then it has a pipe coming out here where you can see this hole in the right hand toolbox and coming down, pointing down here. Now that sucks up air up into, which is not the best place incidentally for a bike because it's low down. It really mid-height is about the best for the atmospheric pressure and what have you, as you'll see on racing bikes with ram air systems. But anyway, it sucks up air through here, through the filter, through this tube, into this box, and through the carburettor, which is a ridiculously convoluted system. I can't see the point of that personally. It does work, but it just means you've got 3 rubber pieces to replace when they perish instead of just the one. The valve clearances are set as per the manual to 0 cold, and I actually need to recheck those because since I've run it, I've retorqued the cylinder heads, and I did reset it, but I've run it a couple of times since while I've been fettling it, so I really do need to recheck those because they do take a little bit of settling in after a head-off decoke kind of job. So I've obviously I've fitted that all up and I've run it this morning, and it started up first kick with the choke full on and ticked over very nicely. Took a little while to get warm, and it's warm now. The iron barrel's warm to the touch, and the head's a little warmer, as you'd expect, because alloy dissipates heat much better than iron. So it started and ran nicely. It warmed up well, and it settled down to a nice smooth tick over. What I also did, in addition to resetting the carburettor to stock settings, is using a top dead center tool in the spark plug hole, I set the timing by eyeball to 0.8 of a mil back on the piston, which is, for anyone that knows with the point system, is roughly how you would set where the points initially open, and you'd then fine tune it from there. Now when I set it to that, it was clear that the ignition was advanced way beyond there, so I've kind of eyeballed it with the electronic ignition, which uses a reluctor and a magnetic pickup. I've eyeballed it so that it's aligned at that point, and it's certainly helped the starting. It's much easier on the starting, and it's probably going to need a little bit of fine tuning yet, and I'll need to get the timing wheel onto here and set it up with the strobe once everything's running. But for now, that's where we're at. And what I'm going to do is just going to pop this on the tripod and fire it up for you so that you can see how it's starting at the moment. Right, so I've let the camera lens demist a little so we're not getting that surreal foggy effect, and as you can see the starter pack is hooked up there. I'll just switch on the light so you can see that's providing the power to it, and then we'll fire up the bike. It should start first kick without the choke because the engine is the barrel is still quite warm from when it's been started previously, but you'll see how much more easily it starts and how much more easily and readily it ticks over. Had I been thinking in advance, what I really could have done with is setting up the camera before so that you could have seen it fire up from cold first time, but believe me, it did fire first kick from cold on full choke, so I was quite pleased with that. So I'm just going to flip this around so I can see what I'm doing there, and I'll fire this up for you. So as you can see there, we have power. It says hopefully. Yeah. We have a light there, so that's the ignition on, everything's in place. We turn the fuel on, tap down, and it's already just over top dead centre, so one swift kick and we should be up and running. Well, as you could see there, one kick without touching the throttle at all, and it fired up and just settled into a nice tick over. Just realising looking at this that you can't actually see the handlebar, so what I'll do is I'll just switch it off and do that again with my hands visible so you can see that I'm not touching the throttle. So, it's top dead centre, decompressor in, and just over top dead centre. So it's in firing position, ignition on, and get my hands where you can see them here. So you can see I'm not touching the throttle. And there you see. Now, any bike when properly set up with a Kickstarter, with the carburettor and the timing properly set up, should start as easily as that. Some of them take more of a kick over if they're multi-cylinder or if they're a higher compression abs, without a doubt. But generally speaking, kickstart bikes are a pain to start because of a reason, and that reason is usually because of poor setup. So there you go, quite happy with that, and I'm going to need to no doubt do a little bit of fine tuning on the middle and top end of the fueling range, but I'm pretty pleased with that overall. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and just check the charging system and make sure that it's not just the battery that's at fault, and make sure that it is charging properly and what have you. And what I'll do is I will probably put that in another video and explain the different portions and how you will go ahead and check those. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.